If you have questions for Jim, please use the raise your hand function and we will start. The first question will go to Brian Ray. Go ahead, Brian.
Jim, can you take us through what you saw on the board at 15 and what went into your decision to drop down to 23?
Well, when we went through, in our meetings, went through the draft, there was probably 10 to 12 players that we knew were going to go in that range. You don't know the exact order, but you know that they're the top 10 or 12 players. And that was true today. It happened that way. Our scouts had a good read on it, had a good feel on it. So we knew that once we started we knew because of that, we're in a good spot. There's some players that teams are going to want, especially the goalie situation. There was two pretty high-end goalies in this draft. And we knew that if they didn't go in the top 10 or 12, that we were going to be in the right spot, that if somebody wanted one of those goalies, that there may be an opportunity to make a trade to get extra picks. And as it turned out, that did happen. I had numerous calls from teams, and in the end, Detroit's offer was the best offer. And so we decided to make that move.
Matt DeFranks, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, obviously Wyatt hasn't played a ton in this past year. How do you evaluate a player like that, and how confident are you in your evaluation that it's going to hold true, especially with him not playing a ton?
Well, first of all, he was selected by Team Canada to play in under 18s, and that's a very prestigious tournament. It's the best 18-year-olds in the world. And to be selected as an 18-year-old in that tournament that hasn't played any hockey at all, I think that shows what his resume is. And that's also what we're kind of going off of is who he was as a 16 and 17-year-old. When our scouts are out there scouting, they watch they're watching underage players. And underage players are 16, 17-year-old players, and they've watched him, watched his development, have liked his skill set. We're fortunate that one of the players we drafted a few years ago also played in Windsor. So our scouts and our player development people have been on the ice with the player, got to know him very well. And then we started to do our research on him. The under 18s, watched him play. Ended up, he's gained in talking to him, speaking with him, and talking to his coaches and management in Windsor. He's gained 20 plus pounds this year. He grew 2 inches. So we're seeing a real growth spurt in him. And usually that shows that there's a lot of development there to take place yet. So we're going off of the history of the player, the resume, watching him play the under 18s. Team Canada selected him, so they know him also, after being in those the countries, they have these under 14, under 16 tournaments. So he's been in the system of Team Canada for a long time. So we know that there's something there, and we just think there's more development because of his growth.
Mike Heika, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, can you just give us a little what the scouts see in him as far as defensive center, two-way center, or is he a forward who can play all 3 spots?
He's in a good spot in his career. He's got very good skills. He's shown that. He's also a very, very responsible player. He's at the under 18s, because he hadn't played much when he made the team. The coaches asked him, the other guys have kind of played more of they've been playing more. And so they put him into the third line role. He accepted that, played it well. He still got power play time because of that. So he's really, he's got a lot of different tools to work with. And we think that there's going to be even more development there with his skill level, that his scoring will even come on even more. So we just think he's a very well-rounded player that has a lot of upside to him.
Saad Youssef, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, once you got there to 23, was he the best player available for you on the board, or did you feel like he fulfills a need for you guys in the system?
He was the best player that we had on the board at that time. When you start to get down close to your pick, you get about 3 picks away. You pick 3 names on your list, and he was the top of those 3 names. The other players that were picked, the other teams that picked before us took players that we had ranked later than he was, and so he was the consensus pick that he was a player we're going to take.
Matt DeFranks, will go to you.
This year in particular, do you feel like you want to have more picks? I mean, I know you always want more picks, but this year in particular, with the variability between different teams' lists, do you feel like that is more a bigger thing for you guys this year?
Yeah, you're always looking for more picks, and in the past I've traded away a lot of picks. The Zuccarello trades and other trades we've made. So, one of these picks was a thought from the last expansion draft, actually, I believe. So, you're always looking for more picks, and then you add in the unpredictability of this year. We think there's some great opportunity here. We've already seen that the list, once we got past that 12 or 13 players, the list started to really jump around team by team. So we think there's some great opportunity here. To get these extra picks is just another crack at just gives you another player that you hope develops and turns into a player. So the more players just gives you more odds. And because of the unknown of the season, some players not playing at all, some not being seen much, and the development of players not being seen, we think there's some great opportunity here.
Brian Ray, go ahead.
Jim, you mentioned the unpredictability of this year, and normally you'd have a draft and then you'd have a development camp and then you get ready for your main camp and things like that. What is the plan, I guess, short term for this year for all these kids in terms of getting them set up for their next year and in what you've normally done in the past and what you have to do this year, I guess?
Well, as with everybody with this pandemic, everybody's lives have been kind of turned upside down, and some of these players haven't had a chance to train much. Some hardly played last year. Some played, 20, 30 games, and very sporadic. So, we're almost into August 1st already. Usually, we'd be having the draft. It would have been almost over a month ago. We'd have players coming in and doing development camp the first week in July. So everything's been pushed back with travel restrictions. That's going to make it harder for development camps. And our season actually starts up, our training camp starts up in, I guess, 7 weeks from now. So our plan is we're going to bring these players in. We're going to Traverse City this year. We missed that last year because of the pandemic. We're going to go up to Traverse City for that tournament. That's where we bring all the rookies in. So we're going to have all our rookies come in about 6 or 7 days before we go to Traverse City. We're going to have a mini training camp with them. Gives them an opportunity to get to know each other, get to know our staff here, gives us a chance to get to know them better. We're going to have our NHL players here. They'll be getting ready for training camp also, a chance to meet them. So we're going to bring them in just before Traverse City, and we're going to take them up to Traverse City for the tournament and then come back for main camp. So that's kind of the plan with this condensed schedule. And the tough part is the restrictions with travel, the pandemic. It's hard to get players over from Europe, and so there's a lot of different hurdles we have to kind of get through as we approach training camp.
Saad Youssef, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, with Wyatt's lack of playing this last year, was there more of an emphasis on just the interviews and just, like asking him about what he's been doing, how he's been working out, things of that sort?
Yeah, no, that was important actually for a lot of the players. We did that with every player. Our scouts did a great job. A lot of Zoom calls with players, with family. All the scouts are doing their homework. They're talking to coaches, general managers, talking to other teams, asking them what they think of players on other teams. And once again, I get back to our research of knowing this player as a 16 to 17-year-old really came in big. We talked to some coaches that he played with in midget hockey. They raved about him, his skill level, and what they all stressed is that there's so much more untapped potential there. And we're starting to see that now with his, the growth just in his strength, which is going to give him more speed. And so we're excited about the whole package.
Matt Franks, go ahead.
Was it tempting, or how tempting was it to look at the goalies when you were at 15?
No, we talked about that in our meetings. We had a good discussion about that. We knew that there's 2 very good goalies. We also know that there's risk involved in that and taking first-round goalies, as with any player, but especially with goalies, just because of the development time. But because of our situation, with Jake Ottinger coming in, his development, and some of the other players that we have some of the other goalies that we have in the system, we just thought, depending on who was there for players and the opportunity to move down and grab more players, that we're going to play it by ear. We even discussed up until we made the trade, should we take the goalie or not? But in the end, we thought it's better just to grab the extra picks. We had a player there that we thought we were going to get, and we did get. So we're happy the way it worked out.
Saad Youssef, go ahead.
Jim, do you guys have any first round guys that you graded out as first round players still on your board?
Yes, we still have quite a few actually, and that's what excites us about tomorrow. We're picking, I believe, 14 or 15th or 15th, 16th in tomorrow's second round. So the scouts now, they're having their meetings right now. They're going back through the lists and they're going to kind of refocus on those and see which players are available that could be of interest for tomorrow.
All right, that's all of our questions. Oh, no, Saad, go ahead.
Sorry, Jim, just one kind of off topic about the draft, but the Seth Jones trade today, as it came down, obviously you just locked up Miro last week. Did you kind of have a sigh of relief on that? And then also just looking ahead to John Klingberg's potential extension next year, how does that kind of factor in at all?
Well, first of all, every team's situation is different. It depends where your team's at, where your cap's at. So every team situation is different. And happy for Seth Jones. I know Seth. He's been skating with some of our players here, so happy for him. He ends up going to a place he wants to be, and he's being compensated very well for it. He got a great contract that I think he's very happy with, and Chicago's happy with. As it pertains to us with Miro and with John. We got Miro signed. We've been negotiating with John, and we look forward to getting him re-signed. He's been a big part of our team. So everybody's situation is different, and we have to deal with a flat cap and everything else. But we'll end up getting the right deal that the players gonna be happy with, and that we're happy with.
Did you have were you guys in on Seth Jones at all?
Yeah, I can't. I don't want to talk about players and other teams and that. We make a lot of calls during the season and that. So, like I said, we know who's available out there, who's getting shopped around, but we make a lot of calls and talk about a lot of players. But I don't think it's fair to discuss for Chicago or to discuss their players or other situations.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, thank you, everyone. We will join you tomorrow with picks and more Jim Nill and Joe McDonnell. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.